Remote work is dying in 2023, and the return to office is being shoved down our throats. Why is this happening, and when is remote work going to make a comeback? Is it going to make a comeback? My name is Joel Algie, and I've been in the recruitment space for coming up to a decade. And over the last couple of years, one of the most common questions I get is how to land a remote job. Right now, one of the most common questions I get is why are remote jobs so hard to get? So let's take a look at remote work, why it started to become so popular, and why it stayed around as long as it did, and why now it suddenly seems to be disappearing and unpopular for many companies. Obviously, remote work became really popular during the pandemic when we had all of the restrictions in place. People could not gather around in offices, and they had all the social distancing mandates. So many companies that had said for years they could never operate remotely were suddenly forced into the position of we either continue remotely or we completely shut down and close down. As you know, a lot of those companies managed just fine, and in fact, people who worked at those companies discovered a new flexible way to work. A lot of people went from really high cost of living places to low cost of living places because they could telecommute and work remotely. Shortly after this time, in 2021, we started the emergence of the Great Resignation. And as many of you will remember, this is where people were leaving their companies and they were looking for new opportunities. And it almost seemed like everybody was hiring, and it seemed like companies could not hire people, and it was really, really hard for them to find talent. This is one of the reasons that remote work lasted as long as it did. It's because when there isn't a lot of people on the market and it's really, really hard to find talented people, one of the easiest ways to increase the talent pool is to say we're going to make this job fully remote. That way, instead of being able to hire locally and maybe within a 25 to 30 mile radius at most because people have to make a commute, now you can hire from literally anywhere. So you might go from having a talent pool of 10,000 people to 1 million people. Obviously, it's way easier to hire when you have a bigger talent pool because you have more people that you can choose from, and it just makes everything easier. The next thing that was happening is most of the conversations that recruiters were having, people were letting them know that they would only consider the job if it was fully remote. So if you had a job that was on-site or hybrid, you literally had no chance. So why did remote work start to disappear, or remote job postings start to disappear? And it's really simple. Companies are no longer having a struggle hiring people. There's not as many jobs posted, and because of layoffs and economic situations, there are a lot more people on the job market. So if a company posts a job and it's fully remote, they might get hundreds, 200, 300, 1,000 applicants. They're not really having any trouble finding people. And in the past, those applicants might not all be qualified, or they might not even be a really good fit for the job. But right now, recruiters are saying that they're getting some amazing candidates when they post jobs. This is definitely not the case in 2021. So companies have seen this as an opportunity to force people back to the office, either into the office full-time, 5 days a week, or in most cases, hybrid. Automatically, if you say a job's hybrid, you're again lowering the talent pool because you can only hire locally. This is also why pay and salary is going down, because they know that they can find people who will work for less because it is a tough job market. They also know that if they force people to go back to the office, there's less likelihood that those people are going to quit because everybody knows it's a tough job market. So that is why remote work postings have gone down. Now, look to the future. When is remote work going to make a comeback? And it's simple. It's when it gets harder for companies to hire top talent because more companies are hiring. So once all companies go, we see growth for the future and we're optimistic about the future, that's when hiring starts to ramp up. And the more companies that look to hire, the harder it is and the more competitive it is for candidates. And again, that's when they want to open up the talent pools. So they say, okay, instead of hiring locally with hybrid or in the office, we will now hire fully remote because it's going to increase the talent pool and it's going to make it easier for us to hire people. So as soon as the job market starts to change, that is when we're going to see remote work bounce back. So if you're really looking for a remote job, just know it's going to be hard right now. You might have to even accept a hybrid job. If you get in the need and your financial situation says I just need a job, hybrid might be the best option. But just know, as soon as the tide starts to change and it goes from an employer market, which it is right now, to a candidate market, which it was in 2021, likely not as extreme, but still becomes a candidate market, that is when remote work will come back. It's only a moment of time, and it's almost guaranteed because it's what people want.